Coming up on Crime Files.
A mother and son from Middletown went out on a fishing trip from Rhode Island Saturday and never came back.
A desperate search.
One of the biggest in the United States Coast Guard history.
And a miracle rescue.
When he tells people he's been out on that life raft for 7 days, they're shocked.
The Nathan Carman case is shrouded in tragedy.
This is a story about a man at the center of a decades-long saga of greed.
It's all about a $50 million family fortune.
Murder.
Is he the killer?
And mystery.
There's only one person that knows what happened, and it's Nathan.
It's a story of family, fortune, and fatal betrayals.
His family literally turned on him.
Where the truth is always just out of reach.
In a case that has already had a series of seismic shocks, the final shockwave blows everybody over.
Crime Files starts now.
The Nathan Carman case is one of the most fascinating true crime cases that I've ever encountered.
At 11 p.m. September the 17th, 2016, Linda Carman and her son Nathan leave from Point Judith, Rhode Island on what's supposed to be a one-night fishing trip. They would often go on mother and son fishing trips, just the two of them, on Nathan's 32-foot boat, the Chicken Pox. On this night, they're searching for striper under starless skies, calm seas, and a light breeze. Linda texted some friends that she and her son planned to be back by 9 a.m. the next morning. But by noon, no text from Linda. Her best friend panics, calls the Coast Guard, and reports them missing.
The U.S. Coast Guard now is searching for a missing mother and son from Middletown.
We are flying at 1,500 feet, looking for that 32-foot aluminum boat that the mother and son were last seen in.
This was one of the most dramatic search and rescue missions that the Coast Guard had ever undertaken, and they found no trace of Nathan Carman or Linda Carman. And they're befuddled, they're confused. Where was Nathan? Where was Linda? After several days, they have to understand there's probably no chance that Nathan and his mother have survived.
The Coast Guard searches 58,000 square miles of ocean. But after 7 days and no sign of Nathan or Linda Carman, officials make a tough call.
Breaking tonight, the Coast Guard announced just a short time ago it is suspending its search now for that missing mother and son from Middletown.
Yellow ribbons go up in Middletown as friends and neighbors turn to prayer in the face of the reality that Nathan and Linda may never come home.
And then there's a miracle.
8 days after the two go missing, a passing cargo ship, the Orient Lucky, makes an incredible discovery. Off in the distance, floating in the shipping lane, what appears to be someone waving from a bright orange life raft.
Hello, this is Nathan Carman.
Nathan, this is United States Coast Guard Boston. What happened?
Myself and my mom were fishing at Block Canyon, and there was a funny noise. I looked and saw a lot of water. The boat just dropped out from under my feet. When I saw the life raft, I did not see my mom. Have you found her?
No, we haven't been able to find her yet.
The public perceives Nathan's rescue as a miracle.
People are comparing him to Tom Hanks in the movie Castaway, but once he is brought back to Boston, Coast Guard investigators begin to question his story.
How did Nathan survive 8 days at sea? And what happened to his mother, Linda? Well, investigators soon uncover a bitterly contested estate and toxic family rivalries. And at the center of it all,
a $50 million family fortune.
Rewind 3 years to 2013. The man behind that fortune is Linda's father, John Chakalos. He's an 85-year-old Connecticut real estate developer.
He was a hard-driving taskmaster, your traditional Greek patriarch. Each of his 4 daughters courted favor for their father. John demanded loyalty and bought it, giving them enough money that they could live lives of millionaires.
John is especially close with his oldest male grandchild, Linda's son, Nathan.
He treated him like he was his son. He had dinner with his grandfather every evening. He worshiped the ground he walked on. And the grandfather treasured that because he didn't have that kind of bond with his 4 children.
John becomes increasingly irritated with his 4 daughters and threatens to stop supporting their extravagant lifestyles.
He felt that they didn't deserve it, that they weren't going out and getting jobs on their own, that they were only, ciphering money out of the family trusts.
But for John, his grandson Nathan could do no wrong. Everything Nathan wants or needs is gladly paid for by his grandfather.
John really doted on Nathan. In his mind, this is my first adult grandchild, therefore I'm going to groom Nathan to one day take over the family business. And I think people inside the family, they didn't want that to happen.
In December of 2013, the family is forever splintered by an unthinkable tragedy. It begins as a seemingly ordinary night for Nathan and his grandfather, John. They go to dinner, and Nathan drops John at home before meeting his mother for one of their regular late-night fishing trips. The next morning, one of Linda's sisters arrives at their father's house for a routine check-in. What she finds is anything but routine.
She saw her father lying in a king-size bed, completely covered in blood. And she screamed. And she ran out of the home and called 911.
John Chakalos was found shot in the head, murdered inside his Overlook Drive home.
John Chakalos was shot 3 times while he was sleeping. He's murdered in cold blood at the hands of somebody wielding a rifle. State police in Connecticut were surrounding the home of John Chakalos, wondering who had killed him. Linda's sisters all get attorneys right away. That was a little odd. Immediately they put up a legal barrier for any discussion regarding their father's murder. A lot of people thought that Linda may have been a suspect. John certainly threatened Linda several times that he was going to stop paying for everything, her home, the lavish trips, jaunts to Mohegan Sun Casino, where she lost money hand over fist.
John and Linda also had a history of heated arguments. One had even turned violent just 2 years before John's murder.
During this very combustible argument, John grabs Linda by the hair. Linda not only punched her father, but grabbed his testicles and squeezed as hard as she could. Linda was slapped in handcuffs, and she is raving that her father has millions and that she wants her share. So that was certainly somebody that police were looking at. If she could fight him, who's to say that she couldn't kill him in his bed? But Linda did submit to a polygraph test. She did pass that test. Nathan Carman did not submit to a polygraph test. Linda's sisters begin to create this narrative that Nathan Carman may have killed their father.
The primary suspect was also the most unlikely, John's own grandson, Nathan, who they believe was the last person to see him alive.
Investigators really focused on the rifle that they think was used to kill John Chakalos, and it's a Sig Sauer rifle. Nathan Carman had purchased a Sig Sauer rifle shortly before his grandfather's murder.
Investigators also questioned the timing of Nathan's fishing trip with his mother the same night that John was killed. They wonder if Nathan could have used that as an opportunity to discard the murder weapon.
Police are asking Nathan, where is that rifle? And Nathan clams up. He won't say a thing. A cloud of suspicion begins to grow over Nathan's head. Is he the killer of his grandfather?
But Martin Manella thinks investigators are getting it wrong.
I'm one of the attorneys that had the privilege of representing this young man, Nathan Carman. Everything was directed by the family toward Nathan. This case revolves around greed, but not Nathan's greed. He was a victim, as far as I'm concerned.
But what happened to the rifle Nathan bought is something that even his #1 defender has trouble explaining.
I really don't have an answer. I mean, that was always the fly in the ointment for me.
Connecticut State Police had one suspect and one suspect only, and that was Nathan Carman. They were hoping and waiting for Nathan to make some kind of mistake that would lead them to the missing rifle that they believed killed John Chakalos.
With no murder weapon and no other physical evidence to tie Nathan to the crime, police are unable to make an arrest. The next year, Nathan Carman inherits $550,000 from his grandfather's estate. 3 years after John Chakalos' murder, the case has gone cold, and Nathan is at the center of another mysterious death. Investigators realize they may now have 2 crimes to solve, one on land and one at sea.
Coming up, the stunning rescue that captured the attention of the world.
I wish desperately that my mom was rescued.
Becomes a criminal investigation.
The Coast Guard thinks right away something is fishy.
And the walls start to close in on Nathan Carman.
There's only one person that knows what happened, and it's Nathan.
When Crime Files continues. Crime Files continues now with Blood and Betrayal.
On September the 25th, 2016, Nathan Carman is discovered floating on a life raft 100 nautical miles off the coast of Cape Cod. He and his mother Linda had been reported missing 8 days earlier when they failed to return from what was supposed to be an overnight fishing trip. It's something they'd done many times before.
Nathan Carman claims that he has been floating at sea for 7 days in a 4-man life raft on his own. He can't find his mother. The boat has gone down. It's such an unusual story for somebody to be miraculously rescued at sea. So when Nathan arrives at the dock in Boston, in the public's mind, he's a hero. There's a gaggle of reporters waiting on the dock, looking for any sign of this castaway who has lost his mother.
A photographer catches footage of Nathan's icy stare as the Coast Guard brings him safely back to land.
Nathan's gaze at them is completely blank. They don't know that Nathan is on the autism spectrum.
From the time he was about 5 years old, he was diagnosed with having a form of autism. He didn't react like you or I might react.
I wish desperately that my mom was rescued. I hope that she will be found.
Nathan's demeanor is not the only thing sending up red flags. From the moment Nathan is rescued, his actions seem suspicious.
The Coast Guard thinks right away something is fishy. Coast Guard investigators are grilling Nathan.
As the boat was approaching, Nathan was waving his arms. Nathan jumped off the life raft and began swimming, which was quite a distance to swim. Someone that would be in a life raft for that period of time would be encountering some physical debilitation. He declines medical care. That didn't make sense to me.
Lead investigators wonder if Nathan may also have intentionally destroyed a valuable piece of evidence.
When Nathan jumped off the life raft, the minute he was in the water, the life raft started to deflate. What caused it to deflate? Our goal was to recover that life raft. There's no acknowledgement from Nathan that he deflated it for whatever reason. This was something that really caught our attention.
Nathan tells the Coast Guard that he was fishing with his mother around Block Island, and he's found 115 miles south of Martha's Vineyard. The story just doesn't add up. The current does not go in the direction that Nathan claimed it went. In fact, it would go in the opposite direction, and they realize it just doesn't make sense.
Police say Nathan's story is also inconsistent. He tells members of his family that the boat sunk at night, but he tells investigators it happened during the day.
That's something that we thought was notable, very notable. I don't believe Nathan was in the life raft for the amount of time that he claims he was in that life raft for. So I don't know where he was. I know where he wasn't. We are realizing that we now have something more than a missing persons case. Our investigation shows that this was a planned event. We believe that Nathan is responsible for the death of Linda.
Potentially, this man may have just murdered his mother on the high seas.
As Nathan is emerging as the primary suspect in the potential murder of his mother, investigators learn that prior to the fishing trip, Nathan had made some unusual modifications to his boat.
He removes the trim tabs, which according to him would make his boat go faster. But he doesn't know how to block the holes. He uses putty without any sealant toward them. There are several experienced boaters that offer Nathan advice and say, this boat is going to sink. And Nathan continues with these repairs.
I mean, if he had planned this, if this was a plan, would he have made these adjustments while there was two people there on the dock watching him do this? I mean, it's hard to imagine anybody would do that.
At the heart of the case, there are two questions. What actually happened to Linda Carman? And if she was murdered, what was the motive? Investigators have a theory: money.
He spent down the money that he got through his inheritance. Nathan's finances were dwindling and he didn't have a job. What our investigation showed is that Nathan was a beneficiary of Linda's trust, and we believe his desire was ultimately to gain access to the funds associated with the trust.
But according to Linda's will, unsealed in 2023, Nathan had been entirely cut out of any inheritance 3 years before her disappearance. It's unclear if Nathan knew he'd been cut out of her will.
It was the government's theory that he left the dock, he killed her, and then went out there and sunk the boat. It's ridiculous. And he couldn't have survived out there.
Nathan's attorney also says that investigators should have taken his autism into account when assessing his behavior.
Here's a quiet, unassuming guy that maybe, police can convince to say one thing or say another thing. I don't know what kind of pressure they used on him when they were interrogating him. I felt not only that he was unjustly accused of both murders, the people that were supposed to protect him were the people, his family, were the people that took up a cause against him.
In May of 2022, 6 years after Linda goes missing, there's finally an arrest.
Federal charges have been filed against a 28-year-old man accused of killing his mother while they were at sea. Authorities say Nathan Carman purposefully sank his boat off of Rhode Island.
Nathan is ultimately arrested for his mother's murder, and he is in jail, awaiting trial. In a case that has already had a series of seismic shocks, the murder of John Chakalos, the disappearance and death of Linda Carman, the final shockwave blows everybody over.
Still ahead, Nathan faces life behind bars, and the final twist nobody sees coming.
How much more tragedy can this family endure?
When Crime Files continues. Crime Files continues now with Blood and Betrayal.
June of 2023, Nathan Carman is detained alone in a jail cell, accused of murdering his mother on a deep-sea fishing trip in September of 2016. But he's not just waiting, he's working on his defense, gearing up for the high-stakes trial.
He wanted this trial, and he was anxious to clear his name.
But the trial never came. 10 years after the murder of John Chakalos and 6 years after the disappearance of Linda Carman, a final dramatic twist. It happens behind locked doors without warning.
June 15th, 2023, I get a call very early in the morning from one of the attorneys on the case. And when I picked up and I heard his voice, I was like, this isn't good.
Prosecutors say 29-year-old Nathan Carman has died.
Nathan is found dead in his jail cell.
It was a gut punch. My immediate thought was, how much more tragedy can this family endure?
John Chakalos, Linda Carman, and now Nathan himself. A third death shrouded in mystery.
We don't know what happened in Nathan's jail cell. The media speculated that he committed suicide. But it's curious that Nathan, who had a very solid case for his defense, would take the easy way out and want to kill himself.
He was concerned with one thing: having this trial and clearing his name.
Nathan's body was cremated shortly after his death. There wasn't an autopsy done. So what really happened during those hours where Nathan was alone in his cell? I don't think we're ever going to know.
The real story of Nathan Carman may never be told.
One of Nathan's lawyers gave the eulogy at his funeral, and that was really treated as what would have been the opening statement in Nathan's criminal trial. It was almost like the attorney was pleading Nathan's case to God himself.
What I hope is some ambitious assistant state's attorney will go through all the files on his grandfather's murder and really find the person or persons responsible for it.
After the funeral, one of Nathan's aunts made an unusual request. She wanted Nathan to be buried right next to her father, the man that the sisters had claimed murdered their father was now going to be side by side with him for eternity.